Now we are going to cover middleware. Middleware is a mechanism in where we can filter HTTP requests entering your application. This can be things like making sure a user is authenticated to view a route. If not, then stop the request and redirect them. You can also do things like logging requests when they come into your application. You can create the middleware directly within your IDE, but Laravel provides an easy way to do this using the artisan command. Let's try creating a middleware that will log some simple data. PHP artisan make middleware log my route. This command will create a new log my route class in your app HTTP middleware directory. We use Laravel's artisan command because it helps create a lot of boilerplate code. And when I say boilerplate, I mean a lot of the boring repetitive steps you'd have to do when creating a middleware, like creating the class, creating the methods, and etc. As we go on into the course, we are going to be using the artisan commands to create lots of things. Anyway, back to our newly created middleware log my route. If we look at the class, we'll see the handle method. What we want to do is simply log a message when the middleware fires. Let's use the log facade to access Laravel's logging functionality. Don't worry if you don't know what a facade is at the moment. We'll discuss it later in the course. Just know it provides a way to access common Laravel functionality. Now, let's quickly jump into the logging documentation to see what we want to do. Here is a quick list of the type of messages we can write to the log. Well, I just want to leave a simple message, so let's use the log info syntax. So, back to the middleware, let's define that in our handle method. Log info, and let's say route is using the log my route middleware. Great, but we aren't done yet. We need to register this middleware so Laravel knows about it before we can start using it. We can do this in the app HTTP kernel file. There are three important things here for middleware. First, we have the global middleware. If we add our middleware to this array, then our log my route middleware will run on every request. So no matter where the user tries to access our application, all these middlewares will run. You can see that these are pretty straightforward. For example, trim strings will automatically remove any white space around variables submitted to the application. Moving on, we have the middleware groups array. Do you remember at the start of this course we discussed that there were two very important files within the routes folder, web.php and api.php. Depending on whether you're accessing the application as a web user or an API user will depend on which middleware is used automatically. You can see this within the web section. We have the middleware that verifies that the user submitted a CSRF token and that it's valid. Then finally, middleware array root middleware is the one that we are currently interested in. We want to add our log my route to this array so that we can add it directly to the routes we want. We don't want to use the other previous arrays because we want this to apply only if we explicitly state it. So let's name our middleware. The name is how we will access it. It can be anything, but it makes sense to call it log my route. And then let's point it towards our middleware. Fantastic. Let's now go on to our routes and add the middleware. You could add the middleware as a group, like we discussed in the previous section, routing. But because this is only going to affect one route, let's do it using the middleware method log my route. Now, when we access that route, we are able to look at the logs and see that our middleware is, in fact, writing to the log. We've covered a lot in this section. Please go ahead and try creating your own middleware and all the different ways you can apply it. In the next section, we'll cover talking about before and after middleware and what's the difference.